This is the Global Broadcasting Service, serving remote outposts since 1928.
Hi, everyone. Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express monorail.
Caramba, we have something really big for you today.
Welcome, foolish mortals.
Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
This is the DBC Pod with Phil Schoen and Jason Dodge. Hey everybody, welcome to this week's Pod. This is a week in review of November 13th, 2021. And we've got a I almost said a different type of show, Phil. It's not a different type of show. It's just a light news week or news that doesn't matter.
I was telling you, I was like, I was going to add some more stuff to the news, but it was like the little things that it's just like, all right, it's a 2-minute tweet or whatever. It's not really a discussion topic. So
I mean, like we started off the show a year and a half ago where we're only going to cover like the big news because this is not a new show, and then somewhere like 6 months ago you're like covering like what food is being released in Epcot and stuff like that. There is a lot of stuff being released for like holiday stuff and all this. I mean, you could go any other news site and listen to it. I don't think you really care to talk about that in a podcast or a YouTube video. But we're going to talk about feelings this evening, today, this morning, whenever you're listening. We're going to talk about feelings, kind of like some background noise on Diz Twitter, Diz social media. There's definitely a vibe. I think a vibe is a good word for it, right?
Yes.
That's kind of reflecting on everybody and how they're behaving and they're acting and they're thinking. We're gonna dive deep into that, and we have absolutely no basis in fact or reality about this other than what we think. So big asterisk on all that stuff. All right, so. Silly me, I did not get the DCI index up, so I'm going to click it up here real quick and pop it up on the screen for those of you that are watching this week. Not many changes. I think we went up like 0.1%, Phil?
Yeah, I believe there was a couple new things back, like the Tam Tam Drummers and Main Street Trolley Show. Divine was back, but then also the Santa Claus was back, but then it's a distance meet, so there's a slight penalty and stuff like that. So nothing big, but a couple things back, which is always nice, but... little movement. At least it went up.
It went up, right? And again, this is going to go towards the first top or second topic of the night, I think.
Yep.
We're going to talk about that. All right, Phil, take us away with the news. I put this together, right? So I was doing the show notes this week, and I was like, all right, Phil has it. Phil usually, most of the time, Phil does the news. I do like all the other stuff that goes after it, and then. But I did the news. I was like, all right, I'll just give like a skeleton outline for Phil. He's like, yep, that's it. So what do you agree with me on what's significant this week? So creepy.
So I think, the big news was Disney did have their earnings announcement out. I think most people have kind of seen what happened with it was sort of interesting, though, that then just a few days later, they almost had a more important day as far as with investors and stuff, as there was Disney Plus Day. So I think we're going to talk a little bit about Disney Plus Day and what happened with that. Obviously, that was to celebrate the anniversary, the birthday, or whatever you want to call it, of Disney Plus, but also when they release a lot of information to investors and the networks and stuff like that. What was really interesting this year, though, and this was back on Friday the 12th that this happened. They were doing stuff in the parks, which seemed kind of weird. They rolled out this big giant blue carpet. They were giving out hats and pins to everyone. They were like special meet and greets and stuff. So it was like they were using the parks to promote Disney Plus or Disney Plus to promote the parks. It was kind of, they're not the same thing, right? It's two different divisions of Disney. So it was a little strange to see all the.
Do you really need to promote Disney Plus in the parks?
Yeah, I don't know. That's why it was weird. It's like, I mean, obviously, I guess it worked. They got like people talking about it and stuff. But
I guess, yeah, sure.
I guess so. But that might also we might touch on that in the second topic as well too. But there was a lot of new stuff that came out. The two big kind of new, they released both Shang-Chi and Jungle Cruise that were summer blockbuster movies that are now out on Disney Plus. There's a lot of other new things that came out, such as a new movie, Home Sweet Home Alone.
Are we going to talk about these individually?
And stuff I don't know. Do you want to go through each of them, or should we just kind of hit on the ones we were interested in? Or
let me just first talk about Shang-Chi. I finally got to see it because we weren't doing theaters. I think it was probably the longest movie of an origin story, that I think Marvel's done, because I think Marvel's usually skipped a lot of the classic origin story type movies.
Yeah, they did them to start with, right? When they had like Iron Man and Thor and stuff like that. But now it's kind of been more group things where they introduce stuff. So they had Black Panther
but not Iron Man though, because Iron Man became Iron Man within the first act. Shang-Chi did not become himself until the last scene of the movie, right?
Right.
So, I mean, this is like a classic, like first Spider-Man movie of a reboot from like early 2000s type of thing.
I got you.
The camera keeps going out. I don't know what's going on, Phil. So keep talking. So what's the next one?
So there were a lot of different shorts that were released. Also, some little things like The Simpsons and Plusiversary and season 2 of The World According to Jeff Goldblum. The other big thing though was they just released a lot of trailers or promotional material about a lot of new stuff coming out, whether it's from the Star Wars world. Like there was little bits about the new Obi-Wan Kenobi show coming out. There was a lot of the Marvel, Moon Knight, She-Hulk, Miss Marvel. They announced Agatha, House of Harkness. Well, so just a whole bunch of new stuff. Yeah.
Let's stop there. Let's just talk about Kenobi, right? Mm-hmm. We're going to talk about this in our DBC recommends. I'm going to do a little mini, I'm going to call it a rant, but it's really not a rant because it's a lot of happy rant. Kenobi was kind of cool. Did you watch the Screen Rant? Screen Rant's a really good YouTube channel that kind of dives deep into the Easter eggs. If you've watched our Loki shows or whatever, we talked about that.
Yes, Screen Crush and New Rockstars both had like really. It was like a 6-minute video that they each did like 30 to 40 minutes
of like covering 4 screenshots.
Exactly.
Here's my main takeaway. I really liked. It's Obi-Wan Kenobi is going to go fight Darth Vader again, which kind of shocked me. I wasn't expecting that, but I think I really love what they're doing. They're filling in the gaps between Clone Wars and A New Hope, and they're actually making this an interesting story versus like whatever happened after. Return of the Jedi, or I guess Mandalorian, I guess we would call it. Did you have any takeaways from the Kenobi
I think that was neat. I mean, it was neat to see some of the different worlds that they had concept art with, so you could kind of see like, well, some of it's clearly Tatooine, which we know is where Ben Kenobi is, because he's obviously watching over Luke there, but not all of it was. So is that just going to be other shots of other things? Is Ben leaving the planet to go on missions? Are there going to be other Jedi involved? So it seemed kind of, really piqued my interest because it seems like it's going to be, for lack of a better way of putting it, a bigger show than I thought it would be. It's not going to be the small, just on Tatooine, just, little adventures where he's making sure Luke is safe and stuff like they've covered in some of the comics.
But honestly, I expected it to be like a Tatooine like miniseries type of thing, but I'm like, how that wouldn't be interesting. So why would they greenlight that project? So they would have to do something with it, right? Yeah, it looks like they are.
And the other thing that I found fun was they were saying, just that Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen, I guess, just really had a blast doing the prequels. And they were saying that when they were doing their lightsaber fights, they would make like the lightsaber noises, and the directors had to be like, "We can see your mouth moving, making the noises. You had to stop that." So I thought that was kind of cute, and it's nice to see they'll be back again and kind of having fun with each other.
So we did a lot of, like you just said, they did a lot of Marvel reveals. Moon Knight, which I know nothing of. She-Hulk, which looked kind of cool. Miss Marvel looked like a kid type of thing. I didn't really understand what was going on with that. But then again, I don't know much about it.
And she'll also be in the Marvels movie that's coming out too, which is like, I guess, Captain Marvel 2, the equivalent of it.
They had Echo, which I don't, is that...
I think that was a new one. People didn't know about that. It's going to be a spin-off from the Hawkeye show.
Secret Invasion looked really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
They had a couple cartoons in there, and then Ironheart was mentioned, which I thought was pretty awesome. So there's a lot of cool things. I mean, I didn't like a couple bits of the What If that I actually saw. But I mean, we don't have to really get into that. But yeah, a lot of fun, exciting things coming next year. And then
just some other fun animated. They had some clips from Tiana, which is going to be the series, from Princess and the Frog. Zootopia Plus. I don't know why everything needs plus, but it's Zootopia Plus. And another car series and stuff like that. So there's definitely a lot coming. Whether it's going to be enough to draw new fans to Disney Plus, I think is the big thing. That was one thing that came out in the earnings, that the increased number of subscriber was below what analysts wanted to see and stuff like that. So are they going to have to tweak kind of their strategy to draw in new subscribers, or is this
compared to Netflix, right? Netflix constantly has new stuff. It might not be like high quality, like Mandalorian, like, cultural, like, apex of entertainment type stuff. But you got, like, my wife will sit there and watch 5, Hallmark Christmas movies that are on Netflix. But there's no background. Like when I go into Disney Plus, there's never anything new unless it's like a big major release. Every once in a while, there's a new show. May not be for me. But Netflix, there's always something new. 90% of it's not for me, but there's always something to look at, right?
Right, but it's for somebody else, right? So I think that's what they need to kind of figure out is how do they get new people in. And then there's some things coming. There's a new cheaper by the dozen movie and stuff. But I just wonder if they're going to have to expand or whether they combine it in with Hulu or something like that, because obviously that's got a different audience and stuff like that. But I don't know. We'll see.
I think there's some really easy content that they could put on there and just like, it's just park streaming, park stuff, park events. Yeah. They need to learn how to actually videotape park events, unlike some of the reveals from their shows.
Right.
Okay, so since this was the first news item, what's the second one?
The second news item is kind of related. That was a good segue, actually, talking about the parks. But something that did come out in the investor call was about how they haven't invested as much into the parks. I mean, I think we knew that was happening. Obviously, with COVID going on, they pulled back on some of the construction and stuff like that. But in 2020 and 2021, it's the Disney's investment has reached the lowest level since 2013. It was down about $500 million since kind of the quarter a year ago. And I guess it's, what does that mean? Is that a one-time blip just due to COVID? Is it,
I don't think
is that something more to come? Yeah, or is it or it's just nothing? But.
I mean, like I have the numbers up on the screen for those that are listening right now, just to kind of give you a taste. 2010, so we'll go over the last decade. 2010 was 1.53 billion with a B. 2015, it peaked in 2016 with $4.22 billion. I think that's a lot of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge stuff there. 2017, I mean, you could have had the same headline. They dropped from 4.22 to 3.19. There was a $1 billion drop.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember when Shanghai was. Shanghai might have been one of those.
And then it popped back up to 3.88, so it was a $700 million increase. Then a $300 million increase was 2019, right before the pandemic, with 4.14 billion. 2020 was 2.9, and then 2021 was 2.27. I don't think you can read into this because it's like this is the first full calendar year of operation for the pandemic. Yeah. Capacity has been going nuts, and I think they're ramping up with some of the stuff. So we'll definitely have to see. Like, this ties into our topic number 2, so I'm not going to go into it too much. But this could be nothing. This could be a blip, whatever. I mean, they're finishing off a lot of projects, so a lot of that money's probably already invested in materials. They're probably not. It's just now all labor at this point in project management type stuff. So we'll see. I don't know what do you make of it? Is this something that you're concerned about, or is this?
I'm not concerned about it now because we knew it was down. We knew they paused a number of things, especially when I see things like they had sealed up Tron, but then they opened it back up. So obviously they didn't mothball it for as long as they could have and stuff like that.
Right.
If next year is down again, as we're hopefully coming out of the pandemic and getting back to full capacity and stuff like that, then I think I'll start to get a little worried. Like, what's going on? Are they not investing? Especially when, at least in Orlando down the street, their competitor is, starting to build their, greatest, latest theme park, and Disney is spending less in the parks. That's not a good sign. But I think for now it is what it is. It's kind of, like you said, that's probably touching on our second topic, but kind of doing a bit of a reset, kind of figuring out, okay, well, where were we spending money? Was it all in the right places? Maybe let's pull back and see if we can kind of, maybe trim some excess spending where it didn't need to happen and focus the spending we are on the right places, or the most impactful places, I guess.
Again, we're always going to be concerned when they're not spending money in the park, so we'll have to see.
Yeah, as Parks fans, we'd love for that to keep going up and up and up and up, right? Because even if it's not exactly what we want, it's more stuff being done, it's new stuff coming. But I'll be more worried if this is now the new number that for the next 10 years. Then I think that's a problem. But if it's just a dip, it is what it is.
Yep. I mean, just from historic trends, like it's gone up and down depending on what they've been investing in. And
right.
Like that. And you got to remember, this is a global number. This is not just Walt Disney World as well. So.
And the last news topic is from a story from Blog Mickey about indicating that with Lightning Lane now, for Genie Plus Lightning Lane, Disney can allocate up to 93% of the ride capacity to Lightning Lane. I think this number jumped out at a lot of people because whether it was our expectation, what insiders were saying, or just what we hoped, was that we were thinking with Lightning Lane not being as used as much by as many people, they wouldn't have to allocate as much of a ride's capacity to Lightning Lane as they did with Fast Pass Plus. But 93% is certainly as much or more than they did for Fast Pass Plus. Now, when you read the article, it kind of says in normal operations, they call it phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. In phase 1, it's more like 75%, not 93, which still seems a little high to me, but at least it's kind of more reasonable. It's more of like, say, if just a lot of people are buying Lightning Lane or it just gets backed up, maybe there's a stoppage in the ride or something like that, and that's when they have to sort of catch up, and that's when it can get as high as 93%. But still, in any way, the vast majority of the throughput for these rides is now Lightning Lane. So I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's accurate.
Where do they get these numbers in? Like, it's like the write this, like, this is definitive. This has been written in a manual somewhere. I don't think there's any numbers in a manual because they're seeing how this is actually working and adjusting.
Yeah, they're saying it's cast members can do this and this is how they operate. But I also still think it's kind of up to the cast members and how they see the lines going, and they need to make sure that the Lightning Lane, especially now that people are paying for it, isn't too long. But I don't know. I guess if nobody's using the Lightning Lane, then they're not going to, it's not going to be 75%. So,
well, Disney has the ability to, change how much Lightning Lane is available for each line, right? You only get one per day. You can shut it off. They can only give you whatever times, that type of thing. So they can control it that way.
Yep.
I just think this is like something happened, right, where there was some guest recovery, there was some VIP tours, and there was a convergence of a mass of people. This is what you're allowed to do in stages.
Yeah.
But I don't actually see this actually happening in standard operating conditions in a park, because it just seems silly to me that they would actually be doing. I don't think there's enough people going through a Lightning Lane area to. I mean, granted, I haven't. From what I've seen from people, other than the major rides, it's. You get your Lightning, it's like, refreshing. You just kind of walk on and you're
at least in Magic Kingdom, it seems not too bad to find. I mean, we'll find out now as we're getting closer to Thanksgiving, with higher crowds, how is it? But on most days, it seems like for most of the parks, other than, for Slinky Dog and things like that, it hasn't been too bad. And the standby lines generally haven't been crazy. So I don't know.
Yep.
I don't know where they're getting that from. So maybe it's much ado about nothing, but I know that number jumped out at a lot of people because it was a lot higher than we were thinking.
Yeah, it just seemed odd.
And that's it for the news stories that you found. So a reminder of our social media accounts: Twitter @PodDBC, Instagram the DBC Podcast, Facebook DBC Pod, the YouTube channel, and of course our Discord server.
That's always interesting, engaging, and fun, and of course never drama free. So if you like that type of thing, always hop on and see what people are yapping about. All right, we're going to hit up this week's attraction. I think this is a fast one, Phil, because this is one I've never done. I've only kind of seen pictures of it. I've never wanted to bring a stroller kid through it before, so I've always passed by. It's like, let's do this. She's like, no, we need to go here. I'm like, fine. Okay, but this week's attractionality is One Man's Dream. Walt Disney World. Walt Disney Presents. 100 Years of Disney on Display. Discover the man behind the mouse from Mickey Mouse to Magic Kingdoms and beyond. Originally opened to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Walt's birth, the gallery showcases his life story from a small town America to Hollywood. Explore the treasure trove of one-of-a-kind sketches, photos, models, costumes, artwork, and more. So, Phil, I'm from your reaction, I'm pretty sure that you've said you've done this, right?
I have. It actually has been a little while. We didn't do it our last trip, but we've done it several times.
Yes. So, go right into it. So, by the way, this is like right by the Frozen sing-along area. It's right there. If you don't know it's there, you could kind of miss it. It looks like it's just kind of like a facade, and it's just like
and it's also it's on your way now to get to Toy Story Land. So a lot of people might just blow right by it as they're trying to get to Slinky Dog and stuff.
So basically, what it is, it's like a museum with some stuff that you can kind of just walk through by yourself and check out and watch and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then they have at the end they have a movie they play about Walt's life some of the times, and then other times it's like a preview for some upcoming movie or something like that.
So it's a miscellaneous kind of showcase area type of thing. So how much do you like the concept of this attraction, Phil? Everybody gave this a 5. 2 people gave this a 4.
Yeah, so I think the idea of having something that talks about the history of the Disney company, of the history of Walt, that people that are there for, the Disney parks can see, I think is a great idea to have something like this.
Yep, no, I totally agree. I love the concept of like museum type stuff or entertainment type stuff because it's inexpensive. It's kind of like a walkthrough, and I think there's room in every single park for something like this, which is going to be our follow-up question. Question number 2: how well do you think it's a? I think he's stuck in there from
he's got to get rid of
Small World. Yes.
Yep.
How well do you think Walt Disney present? I am doing terrible tonight. How well do you think it delivers for its target audience, Phil?
So I give it a 4. I think it does a good job. There's some really neat exhibits there. There's the recreation of Walt's office. There's the animatronic man, one of the original ones there, and you can kind of see how it works, how the multiplane camera works. So I think for anyone who's interested in sort of the history of the Walt Disney movie production and kind of the technology they developed and stuff like that, it absolutely delivers on that. There's always usually some previews there. I know for a while they had a model of Galaxy's Edge before Galaxy's Edge was built and stuff. So there's some, kind of people are interested in what's coming next. So I think, for that target audience, it delivers quite well. Like, you could always have more of these things. You could have more kind of interactive elements and stuff like that, I think. So that's why I didn't give it a 5. But I think overall it delivers pretty well.
I'm right there with you with a 4. It's just not amazing, but it's from what I've seen of it, it's pretty cool. How much do you personally enjoy Walt Disney Presents, Phil?
I also gave this a 4. I mean, probably for similar reasons. I think I enjoy seeing the exhibits there. They probably could change them a little bit more. It doesn't. The things there are cool, but once you've seen them a couple of times, it's like, all right, that's what it is. I've been to some of the other Walt Disney museums. They're pretty neat to see things. So you could always have new things. So I give it a 4. Again, could be better, but for what it is, it's good.
How well do you think it fits in that area of the park? I guess that's technically animation courtyard, but it's kind of...
Yeah, I was a little thrown. I didn't know what to give this. It kind of is one of those things where it could be almost anywhere. I don't think it fits really well there because it's like, especially the new vision for Hollywood Studios, which is supposed to put you kind of in the worlds of these characters and stuff. And then this is sort of the complete opposite of that. I think it would be great at like Disney Springs or something like that. Sure. So I think there's better spots for it. So I actually gave it a 2.
Oh, I think it's your lowest grade yet for any attraction.
Probably. And I don't know. I mean, I guess you could probably justify putting it almost anywhere. I just think there's better spots for it.
See, I like where it's at only because that main strip of area is kind of like a no man's land. It's all transition area. Mm-hmm. And if we were kind of wiping the slate clean with Hollywood Studios at this point, like that main hub area, I would definitely make it like a kind of generic welcome to the movies type of thing, where it's no land, but it's just like some cool stuff kind of in the middle, and where you branch out to different lands, that's where you kind of get hooked in type of thing. I would never have put Runaway Railway in the Chinese theater. I always thought that was like a weird addition, even though it fits thematically, but I don't know if it fits for like the park itself. But that's a question for another day. But like, again, the follow-up question is, should Walt Disney World add other attractions that showcase the history of the company to other parks in some way? Should every park have some kind of like museum-esque kind of walkthrough type of deal? Yeah,
I think they're, even like at Epcot, they have that, the Epcot Experience, where they have the model and kind of what's coming next in Epcot. Mm-hmm. I think, they always had that even before Walt Disney World was finished being built. They had the preview center and stuff like that. Things that, I love that it has some of the historical elements, but also things that kind of build hype for the new things coming is exciting as well. So I think something like that in the parks would be great. Like I said, I think, they have that whole big NBA experience now. Maybe take that and turn that into something that has like history of Walt Disney World and restaurants.
No,
and games
I don't
and
want
stuff like that.
I don't want anything in Disney Springs that I have to go to. Like if I'm going to Disney Springs, it's shopping and food and drinks, right? I don't want to be like, all right, we have to go to Disney Springs because I have to go see the really awesome whatever that they built in there, right? There's enough. I mean, like, let's keep it to the parks. Let's keep it to the resorts or whatever. I don't know.
Yep.
Springs to me is something like there's some trips I just don't feel like going to Disney Springs because it's too many filthy locals running around there drinking and stuff like that. Anyway, no offense to you locals out there. I'm not calling you filthy. I'm just kidding. Okay, so that's Attraction Alley for this week. I think we're going to do 2 topics, kind of old school type of show.
Yep.
We wanted to have Ryan Teets on this week, but he was apparently at the Packers game today.
Yeah, he's working. He's accomplishing something with his life.
Yes, good for him. Making that cash. Okay, so anyway, topic number 1. We're going old school. We got 2 different topics. I think these are good ones. One, my wife has been building up her Etsy shop. Right, she's a big crafter. She like all these arts and crafts, and for a while she's just because she likes sewing, it's very therapeutic. She was just making masks, and then people were buying them, and she was very happy with that. She's like, what else should I make? I just don't want to be sewing masks 24/7. I'm like,
right.
Well, you start making, some Disney wreaths, and we kind of showed one on the show before, and some various other kind of ornaments and random Disney things.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, so she's been getting into the Disney spirit a little bit, right? More so than I am with our random, like, what are we watching today? Oh, why don't you put on some Disney streaming? And she's never, ever been the one to suggest this at like 9 or 10 o'clock at night to like just kind of sit and watch. So I thought that was kind of neat. So this is a long-winded story where she started putting on shout out to Resort TV One. They're one of they have some really good bandwidth on their phones, I guess. I don't know. Their streams are always better than everybody else's. But everybody was streaming. We were watching a bunch of other people. Everybody was streaming the Christmas party. And here it is. It's the first 2 weeks in November. And I don't mind walking through the parks and kind of seeing things, but it seemed like every time we put it on, because probably it was always at the same time of the night when we were putting it on, it was a stage show. And we were like singing Christmas. I'm like, it is too early for this nonsense. I mean, I love Christmas. I was going to start celebrating early this year. I just can't do it. It's just too early. So the question is it really too early for Christmas? And could you get into the Christmas spirit if you were at Walt Disney World? You're going to be there later this week, so
yep, yeah, we'll be at the merriest after hours party on this Thursday. So I better get into the holiday spirit quickly.
Is it like? Here's my question for you. Okay, so you're going, right? Do you typically, if this was any other, let's say this was 5 years ago, random year, right? Are you in the Christmas spirit prior to Thanksgiving typically?
So not really. The one thing we do, and we did do it this year as well, is we usually get our Christmas card ordered and stuff like that. But we don't really decorate until after Thanksgiving. Usually that weekend is when I put up the Christmas lights outside and stuff like that. And we do the whole go out and cut down our Christmas tree. And so we don't usually do that until the middle of December because we want it to last until Epiphany and stuff like that. So we're usually later with getting things set up. Last year with kind of in the heart of COVID and the worst days, we did do things a little bit earlier just to let's get some lights up and do something.
Yeah,
but normally we're usually not until after that. I'm a little earlier this year as well. I'm listening to some Christmas music and stuff like that, so I'm getting into it a little bit.
We watched Elf last night as a family.
Oh, there you go. So and maybe it is because I know I'm going to the after hours event, so I kind of have to force it.
You're ramping yourself up. Yeah.
But I think it's fun. I think it's a good time of year. There's obviously Christmas is kind of the tentpole, but there's a lot of other holidays that people celebrate as well, and some of that's going on at the theme parks as well. So I think it's good to get kind of celebratory, for lack of a better word. I think it's nice to see that. And I saw you put this in here, and I was trying to think about it. Is it too early? And it's they really don't do the parties until kind of second week of November, so there's probably less than 2 months of parties. When you think about the Halloween stuff, they started in like early August, right? It's like that was almost 3 months of Halloween.
That's still too early too.
That felt early. But
Christmas is different though.
Yeah, it's more about kind of the preparation for the holiday and stuff like that too. So I kind of ramp up. I definitely ramp up earlier for Christmas and the other holidays than I do for say Halloween. So I think it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not against it. I just if I were to go down there, right? Let's say I'm doing my family vacation. We're going to try to go to I've never been to a Christmas party, so we'd probably spend the money to do it just so I could do it that one time. And I would definitely go. I'm not saying like it's not worth the time. We could talk about if it's worth the money, but I think stage show, parade, second fireworks show is kind of worth the the admission right there. I think. That being said, this is not a show question. This is the Christmas spirit question.
Yeah.
And I mean, to me, like Christmas has a certain feeling to it, right? I've laid down some ironclad rules for my family. No Christmas music until dessert at Thanksgiving. I think I've mentioned this before on the show. We always got our Christmas tree like the day after or the weekend after Thanksgiving, somewhere there. We're gonna get it Friday or Saturday this year. I put my Christmas lights up, half of them out, but we haven't lit them yet. They're just sitting there getting them prepped, so I don't have to do them later on. And I think we're going to start decorating in the next week or so, but not lighting the lights, but getting stuff up so we don't have a mad scramble for Thanksgiving. But there's a certain feeling about the holidays, right? You're having some drinks, you put on the first night of Christmas music, and now it's the holiday season, right? Doing it right now kind of feels weird. It kind of feels like listening to Christmas music in the middle of the summer, even though Christmas is, 6-7 weeks away, whatever it is right now at this point.
Yeah.
I think it's too early. I'm repeating myself now, but I don't know how to say it properly. Well, I love how Disney does Christmas, and that's one time of the year I have never been down there before. So maybe once you're on property, you're in the bubble and you're feeling the magic, and like the Christmas just adds another layer to it and all the other stuff, and it's awesome, and it's never too early, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the only thing. I have to test it out. So I have to convince my wife to find how many thousands of dollars to go down there real quick. I don't know. So you say it's not too early. I'm going to be interested to see if have you been down there at this point of the year before?
Not exactly this time. When I was a kid, we went down once that week in between Christmas and New Year's, but that was...
Oh, that doesn't count. I'm talking about like early.
And that was like 30 years ago anyway, so I don't know if I remember it. So no, like this time of year, we have not been down.
When we do the show next week, we'll probably be recording on Monday, but I'm thinking I'm going to ask you to do it on Tuesday so I can watch the Giants Monday night game.
Okay.
Monday night. I don't know about that yet. In any case, I'd be curious to see, like, did you get more into the Christmas spirit? Are you because now it's going to be a week before Thanksgiving at this point. Yep. And like, are you ramped up for Christmas now? Like, did all like you're just ready to go type of thing? Like, I want to get my Christmas tree early type of thing. So we'll see what the reaction is going to be like. Okay, so I think we killed that one. Topic number 2. So this is the one I really wanted to talk about.
Yep.
So this is going on about like ever since about my trip faded from my my daily aura, I guess. I don't know what to call it, right? So I went like a week after Labor Day, and so probably towards the end of September, early October, the magic started fading just like any other vacation, and then you go back to your normal day-to-day type of thing. And, you start getting into the doldrums of, your day-to-day work. The 50th kind of ramped up, and that got exciting, and then it was just like the 50th excitement kind of went away. They weren't doing anything really cool for the 50th. It was kind of all just there. You stopped hearing about it, right?
Right. It was wrapping up for the day, and then it kind of was it was exciting to be there, but it also felt like, okay, there weren't many special characters. There wasn't that big of a deal about it. Yep. And yeah, I agree with you that it's like, okay, kind of came back down off that
high or whatever you want to call it, right? The Disney high, the magic high. So then not only that, you've got I know that Diz did a bunch of stuff on this. We saw an article posted about skimflation. That's a stupid term, but I kind of liked it. So now you have Disney that's, charging more for everything and giving less, the whole thing with the trams not being up. So you have all like the cheapness of quote unquote the cheapness of Disney versus what you're paying for. You can't meet the characters still. A lot of the restaurants are empty or not open, I should say. And then I think obviously with the pandemic in the background, it's, we went from like it's almost gone in the summer to where we are today. And everybody's like, okay, we're wearing masks, getting inside. People are waiting for those to go away too, which they're probably not for a while. There's definitely a vibe in the background. We were talking, Phil and I were talking about this before the show. How do we phrase this without? There's not a negative thing, right? There's not like hatred in the air and everybody hates Disney and this is all negative, right? So don't put it this way. There is a background vibe. I think vibe is a good word for it. where people are on edge about Disney. They still love Disney. They're still planning. They're still getting their spreadsheets out, but they're maybe going for the first time since everything closed down, and they're realizing I can't do what I used to do. Yeah. Right? They're still stoked about going, but there's this edge, right? You got the whole GD Plus type of thing that leaves it a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. There's no discounts. There's no this. There's no that. Do you feel what I'm feeling? I mean, like you went for a really nice vacation beginning of October, not 40-something days ago. Right. You're going again, and you got a trip coming up next year, obviously, too. So, like, do you sense this? Like,
I do sense it, and I feel like I'm kind of almost defending Disney more than in some of these conversations a little bit, and it's only because, and I don't necessarily want to fully defend them, but it feels like they're still operating in pandemic mode, for lack of a better word.
Absolutely.
Where it feels like maybe it's specifically at Walt Disney World, and it feels like it's less so other places. It feels like Universal is basically back to normal. It feels like you're seeing even out Disneyland in California. Not saying they're fully back, but their Halloween party had way more stuff than Walt Disney World. Their Christmas party, people are going nuts about the Muppets caroling and stuff like they're adding things, new things. We're not really getting that in Walt Disney World. So I think it feels like they're operating as if they only have to do the bare minimum because people are just happy to get back at all.
Yep.
Whereas I think a lot of and maybe that's true. Maybe the bulk of the people that are going, it's their first trip back and they're just happy to be there at all. They're still, I know there was the term like revenge travel or whatever, but it's kind of like, I don't care what's going on. I want to be at Disney for Christmas, and whatever it is, I'll be happy with. But I think for a lot of us that focus on it more, we're like, okay, it's great, but you've been open for a while now. Other places have figured out how to operate, fully. Like we were talking about character meets, they brought back character, but it's the distance meets. And when you see how they're set up, like, there's no reason these couldn't have been going on for 6 months already, right? Like the way they have them set up. So it kind of feels like Disney's just really lagging behind because they feel like they don't have to push things. They don't have to bring the trams back. They don't have to do this. They don't have to do that. And then I think what happens is people are saying, okay, when are they going to get out of this mode? And then that brings into the question, are they going to get out of this mode? Or is this the new normal? Is this the new level set that they have? And I think that's what I think that edge you're talking about, that people are worried. I think somebody on Discord mentioned that we're always worried about the next shoe and the next shoe that's going to drop. And it's like, okay, they brought back some entertainment, but are they going to bring back, the Streetmosphere? Are they going to, is Festival of the Lion King ever going to be the full version? Is it, or is this the new normal? And I think that has people a little bit worried.
I'm like, I don't want this to be a let's blame Disney for not doing a thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we have to, like, there's a lot of people out there on both sides of the spectrum of the vaccine, right? There's plenty of people out there that are anti-vax that are like, let's get back to normal. There's a lot of vaccinated people like, I'm vaccinated. Let's get back to close to normal, right? And wearing masks or not, a lot of them don't care if they have to wear a mask for the most part. There's people in the middle, but the country's now back on an upswing, right? Not a drastic one like we saw over the summer, but like
there are some
still there.
Bad trends, right? It's
still, and I don't want to talk about COVID, right? But this is more of a mental state of the population of this country as a whole, right? Yep. There's massive amounts of fatigue. There is social anxiety. There's depression. There's, throwing caution to the wind because he just can't be cautious this much any longer type of stuff. Yeah. And I hope for those that are out there or that, that are listening to this, and if you have any kind of issues, mental issues where you're like getting tired or you're like you want to talk about it, certainly shoot us up on social media and we can certainly talk about it. Hop on Discord because there's a nice support group for people that are just tired of everything and just want to talk Disney, and we can certainly do that. But there's a general malaise behind everything. That's kind of like a little sticky ooze on the top of all this happiness type of thing.
And I'm wondering if it's that, people were willing to pay a premium to go to Disney, and part of that was leaving everything outside the berm, right? Kind of leaving their real world troubles behind, and Disney would kind of take care of everything, for lack of a better word, right? Would provide all that magic. And I wonder if people are feeling like, I don't want to have like a partway there Disney, where I'm still paying the full price, but not getting that full escapism and stuff like that. And that's not able to lift them up like it was in the past.
Disney's for even the moderate fan, Disney's all about getting away, right? Ignoring the outside world. It's always been that way. And forget about the planning. The planning is easier now. Or just as hard if you want to talk about EDRs, those type of things. There's still challenges, but it's. I don't think you can escape from it because there's constant reminders, and it's not just the mask thing, right? I mean, I think you can. When I was there, the masks were background noise. It was hardly noticed. Whatever. I was never fearful of like, oh, these people are not wearing their mask. These people aren't wearing their mask, and I'm getting skeeved out. There was none of that with me and my 3 young children. I honestly think it manifested itself in different ways. So like for me, this is just me personally, right? This might be just my therapy session I'm having with you, Phil, right? We're just going to put this on YouTube. So I'm watching, typically back before the pandemic, I would watch maybe 2 or 3 hours worth of YouTube Disney. I would get my family around, not my kids, because my kids can't sit and watch that stuff for about 40 minutes straight. Just like podcasts, right? Like the Diz or anybody else they could think of. And we'd watch it. We'd watch it for an hour and hang out, talk Disney, and then we'd turn off the TV, put some music on, have a couple glasses of wine, and plan our next trip, right? We'd have family sessions every couple of weeks kind of doing this type of thing. I don't do that anymore. It's almost like I'm watching Disney now and any kind of stream, and it's just, I don't want to call it depressing, but it's just kind of like, I don't know how to describe it, Phil. It's kind of like I'm watching it, like that's not Disney all the way back yet, right?
Yeah, no, that's 100% it. Because even like I've been watching obviously a lot of the reviews of the After Hours event because I want to find out strategies and what's good, what's worth my time, what isn't. And a lot of them are enjoying themselves and they're saying, it's great to have it back, and seeing snow on Main Street is great and stuff. But they also focus a lot on what's not there, right? They're saying, people there was one article up where it was like there were 80 fewer performers in the parade, and people were talking about how there are fewer of the toy soldiers and stuff like that. And it's like, that gets a little depressing when the focus is on what's not there versus what is there. And like you said, it's not all the way back, and that makes it less motivating to want to do all that planning and stuff like that. And you don't know what it's going to be like, right? Like when it's your next trip in February or whatever, it's like, well, who knows what it's going to be like then. And it's just kind of like you got that cloud hanging over you. And like I said, you're kind of waiting for that other shoe to drop.
And don't get me wrong. Again, I want to say I'm not blaming Disney for any of this stuff, right? I think they're acting prudently by they can't ramp up business the way they want, right? I think if it was up to them, they'd be full back right now if it wasn't for the underlying circumstances, and it's kind of tough to blame them for. I mean, yes, there's room to blame them. Like there's like you mentioned, the character meets. Like they could bring
the trams and so like there are things that are absolutely things that they could do. Yes,
but like those type of little things are things that people are getting angry about. Maybe not exactly pissed off about yet, right? They're not really angry, but they're like, come on, let's go. Like you could hire 5 or 10 more people to run the tram.
I think that's a good way of putting it. Like I'm not looking. I get it why Guardians isn't open. I get it why Tron's not open yet to some extent. But the trams, that's ridiculous. Like you said, let's go. Come on, like enough's enough. We gave you like quite a runway here. Let's get going.
and I think this is going to bite Disney on the butt, whether it's their fault or not. There's the little things that they can clean up, but like overall, this kind of and you're seeing it on all the podcasts, right? I was watching some of the Diz stuff, which I haven't watched before. There's not hostility between all the hosts that are usually very, very happy. There's just like tiredness, exasperation, and the general excitement for like really cool things is just not there. And I'm not going to call out people and their performance because that's not. We don't need to critique.
No, but I think I get that, and like, I think when people like we were talking about whether it's the party or the After Hours event, whether it's the 50th, things that people were getting excited for has fallen short a little bit, and I think that just gets a little tiring after a while. That you get kind of built up, and then it's Disney falling short again. So,
well, I mean, like if this would be a normal times, and it'd be the Disney 50th anniversary. Like right now, I've got my trip in 3 months? December, January, February, right?
Yep.
I'm not excited. I'm excited to go, but I'm not like the 50th. This is going to be different, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, there's going to be some golden statues and there's 2 new nighttime shows. Maybe Fantasmic's going to be open, but I doubt it. Like, there's nothing different from a normal Disney trip that I'm looking forward to other than merch and maybe different food, right? Yeah. I mean, what am I looking forward to? What are they doing differently? What's going to be different at my Disney trip this time than it was 3 years ago?
Charging for Lightning Lane.
Yeah, yes, exactly. That's a whole nother.
But I agree with you, and I think, going back to the point of like, okay, I think they can kind of get away with it now. There's a lot of people, and maybe people that haven't been for a while, they'll be happy with this. I'm really interested to see, and I know this is like way off. Who knows what's going to happen in 2 months from now, let alone 10 months from now. But what is next year going to look like? If it's the same next year where everything's kind of 75% of what it could be.
Spring break is there that's the date. That's what I'm giving it. Because basically the parks opened back up summer of 2020. Mm-hmm. And then basically for all through the winter where things got bad and then things got great with the vaccine and all this other stuff, and then people started going again full go, like April timeframe, like April, May of last year. People were going like their normal Disney, even though they couldn't do stuff. People were going and be like, that's when there were their revenge trips. If like the people that were gung ho about Disney or were saving up for the trip, they finally could go. They went. If those people are going to go again, it's going to be spring break through probably the end of Q2, through the middle of the summer next year. Yep. And that will potentially be their second trip back. And like, what are we paying for? There's going to be disgruntledness, I think.
And by that point, though, you're going to see other places. I mean, heck, my last trip, I went to Universal. I know there's other people that are going to try that too. And, I'm not saying, Disney's going to not be number one and stuff like that. But when people start seeing other options out there that are maybe more complete, maybe the draw to go back to Disney every year isn't there like it used to be, right?
I think the draw is going to go back to Disney, right? But it's not going to be fully Disney, right? Mm-hmm. It's going to be like, okay, it's not the same, but I'm still going to go on vacation. We're still going to go because the people are still going to want to go on Jungle Cruise and It's a Small World and go on some of the like Tron and Guardians if they're open the next time they want to go, right? So there's going to be a draw for them to go. But the thing is, like, they're not going to go the full 2 weeks, 5 days, whatever it is. They're going to go hit up their favorites and get out because Disney's there's going to be a lot more. There's going to be a more mounting negative feelings towards Disney. Mm-hmm. Like, this is not open. This is not open. I'm not getting this type of thing, and that's just going to push everything down. Yep. And Disney has to spend the money and do it. They can still adhere to their same safety protocols. They don't have to go maskless. That's not going to change anything. But it's their offerings, and they're going to have to do something, I think, to kind of they're going to have to announce like another project. They're going to have to announce like a new what's the cost of a parade? Like just a simple like let's get 3 cavalcades together, right, and kind of do something. Like there's no reason not to have a parade now. Yeah.
I mean, they could announce some. I mean, heck, we have Destination D23 coming up this week, right? There's a parks panel next Saturday that I'll be at. They could announce then. There's a parade that's going to start here. We're putting in a new ride where Primeval World used to. They could build up more excitement, but it's got to be we're bringing new things. It's not just hey, this was back. We're bringing back 75% of something. That's not going to cut it. It's got to be.
I want to ask you guys out there that are either members of have Disney Facebook groups, go on multiple different forums, or just hang out on Twitter, wherever you get your Disney, entertainment from, right? Mm-hmm. I'd like to see if you could hit us up on Twitter, email, Discord, wherever, and talk about it. See if you notice the vibe too, right? This is not going to be an obvious thing where people are bad mouthing Disney, but it's just going to be. To me, people are they're more likely to not give Disney the benefit of the doubt, or their love or their explosion of happiness. Like, go look at some of the people that they're not doing it for a full-time job. You might see them a little bit more lax with some of their Disney exuberance. Yep. All right, so something to kind of report back on. I know it's kind of a sad topic, but I think it's the state. It's the state of the community.
I think the state it is, but it's worth talking about. Maybe to end a little bit on a positive note, like I said, we could have some really big news. Who knows next week? And maybe they are building that new baseline, but it's to come back with new stuff. That's going to be great. I was saying, they have that time to come back, but maybe this time next year they'll have two, Tron and Guardians will be open, and they'll have a new nighttime parade, and they'll have, there's still time for Disney to build on what they have and bring it to an even better place. But they gotta start moving.
I think the minimum of the show or the exposition this week is going to be like, what is Epcot going to look like when it's not a construction zone? I think they need to.
When is that date?
That. Yeah. I think they really need to talk about that. All right, so we're going to finish up with our DBC recommends this week. This is going to be another diatribe because it's I wrote this one. Okay, so what kind of got me stoked? We talked about it at the top of the show with the Kenobi teasers, right? That's coming end of next year, beginning of 23, something like that.
It's just said 2022. They didn't say exactly when.
It's probably going to get pushed off because all these things do that. But that's coming on later. That's super exciting. Ahsoka's coming. You've got Book of Boba Fett coming within a month. You've got The Mandalorian. Is that spring 2022?
I think so.
Somewhere around there.
I forget exactly when. But yeah.
But that type of thing. So if you were watching or listening, we weren't recording video. Our Mandalorian episodes last Christmas. I've been trying to watch the Clone Wars, and I finally finished it. Let's just cut to the chase. It is the worst written series of cartoons ever created. And however, there are some really amazing storylines in the last 2 seasons of that show that I like. It was like, I don't want to say it was worth watching 4 seasons of it, because it definitely wasn't. But you could skip. I think Disney Plus has the essential Clone Wars episodes. Yeah. And they almost nailed. There's like some missing from season 7 on there for some reason. But watch those, and you'll get it. Because the character development of Anakin and Obi-Wan is awful in that show anyway. So you're not missing much character creation. However, I watched it and I got excited because I finally understood what everybody's been like in Ahsoka about for the last 20 years. Right? I fully realize I'm super late to this party. There's no more late that you can get. And then I just started watching The Rebels. And you mentioned to me that it's like, okay, it's pretty good. Some people didn't like it, whatever. I'm like episode 13. I think there's 14 episodes in the first season or something else like that, 15 maybe. I absolutely love it. The music is fantastic. Yep. The storyline is good. You've got Inquisitors, which was a reference in the Kenobi screenshots. If you watch the certain YouTube channels that kind of go into that type of thing, you've got the Force being used and being trained. You have all this backstory type of stuff that's in there, right? Like that granular stuff that's really cool. That's filling in the gaps, and I kind of dig that. And then you've got Kenobi that's going to be taking place in the same thing. So I got stoked about that, and now I'm looking forward to somewhat watching the what's the other cartoon that comes after Rebels? Why can't I can't. It's not Rebels. It's not Resistance. Oh yeah, that was not that great. Of course, it's tied to some not so great movies, but. But what other thing that's getting so I'm recommending, right? This is back to this is a DBC recommends. I promise I wasn't going into my 2-hour Star Wars diatribe. That's for another show. I recommend watching the Clone Wars Essential episodes if you haven't watched the Clone Wars before, because it's going to take you months to watch all 24 episodes per season for the first 6 seasons. Watch the Essential ones. Watch Rebels in its fullness. Once I'm done with Rebels, I'm going to go and start looking up all of the old comic books that are considered canon, not the old stuff, but the newer stuff, just to start filling in my gaps of lore, which a lot of the I'm no longer a Star Wars nerd because I haven't got caught up on this stuff. If this was, 17-year-old me, I would have had all this stuff down pat type of thing. So that being said, all the Kenobi stuff, then the Mandalorian, all the Mandalorian stuff, the Book of Boba Fett, the Ahsoka show that's being teased, and all this other stuff has reignited my love for deep Star Wars nerddom. And I want to recommend going out there and watching those cartoons, at least the essential ones. I think that's what I would recommend. Finally boiling down to what the DBC recommends, Phil. It's the string of essential Clone Wars episodes. So you can go on there, go into Star Wars.
And I would say all of season 7 if that's not included in.
I could have sworn there's the last couple episodes that are not.
I forgot
included
if the Essentials included that or if the Essentials was leading up to season 7 or whatever. But season 7's all pretty good.
Yeah, so watch all of that. It's pretty awesome. And all right, I'm going to leave it at that. So I think we're going to. When does the Book of Boba Fett start? Do you know off the top? Is that mid-December? We don't need a date. Is that mid-December? Phil's typing it in there. If you're not watching him, you're now watching him on YouTube. Google Book of Boba Fett. I got to watch that documentary on Disney Plus that just came out too. The history of Boba Fett. Do we have a date, Phil?
I don't know why it's December 29th. It says
29th.
That's what it says.
Oh wow, I thought it was mid-December. Never mind. It's a New Year's Eve type of show then. Okay, very good. So Phil and I were going to do our usual. We'll watch it like the day that it comes out. Phil will have seen it 5 times, but before I watch it in the evening, we'll go from there. Anyway, we hit the 55-minute mark. This is perfect show, Phil, and Zencaster hasn't canceled on us.
Yeah, must like what we're talking about.
Yes. That being said, guys, thank you for listening. Wish Phil a safe travels and a fun stuff. Like follow you on Twitter because I'm pretty sure you're going to be.
Yeah, I'll be tweeting out, maybe doing some Instagram stuff, maybe some instant reaction videos and stuff like that. So we'll see. I'll see what I can do. Try some stuff out
from the field.
Exactly.
What's the term? He's on assignment this week.
Yeah, DBC on assignment.
There it is. All right, guys, have a great week. Thanks for watching and listening. Make sure you hit the subscribe and the like buttons on all that other stuff. 5-star ratings on iTunes if you have done that already. We appreciate that. That helps the show get around. And that being said, take care. I kept talking and you waved.
I know. I did my wave early. I'll do it again. Hi. Bye, everyone.
Hi and goodbye. Take care, guys.